Village of Ridgewood Village Council, regular public meeting. Today is March 13, 2019. The time is 8 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same, as provided by law, but scheduled including the date and time of this meeting. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Newton. Here. Councilman Seaton.
Here.
Councilman Voigt.
Here.
Councilwoman Walsh. Here. And Mayor Hache.
Here. Please stand for flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join us in a moment of silence in honor of the brave men and women serving our nation's military and its first responders. Thank you. I move the bills, claims, and vouchers and statement of funds in hand as of February 28, 2019 be accepted as submitted.
Second. Newton.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh. Yes. And Hache.
Yes. I move that the Village Council minutes of January 9th, January 16, and February 13, 2019, having been reviewed by the Village Council and now available in the Village Clerk's office, be approved as submitted.
Second.
Newton.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh. Yes. And Hache.
Yes. We have a few proclamations tonight. We'll start with proclamation March Red Cross Month. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Whereas the American Red Cross was established in 1881 and chartered by Congress in 1905 to act in times of emergencies. And whereas the American Red Cross is one of the nation's oldest and most recognized humanitarian organizations, and whereas local chapters provide compassionate care and immediate emergency service when disasters and other crises threaten to overwhelm families. And whereas the American Red Cross provides services such as health and safety and disaster preparedness training, emergency response assistance, reunification services for military families in times of crisis, and Holocaust tracing. And whereas the American Red Cross is a nonprofit nationwide organization with a rich history spanning more than 130 years, which depends on the generous contributions of time, blood, and money from the American public to support its life-saving services and programs. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village of Ridgewood, the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim March 2019 as American Red Cross Month in the Village of Ridgewood.
Thank you. Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. Councilman Voigt.
Whereas colorectal cancer is the second leading cause of cancer-related deaths in the United States, claiming more than 50,000 American lives each year, and whereas colorectal cancer is a major health concern for families in New Jersey, while anyone can get colorectal cancer, the risk increases with age, with 9 out of 10 cases occurring in people over 50 years old, and whereas colorectal cancer is preventable and treatable, and whereas the New Jersey Cancer Education and Early Detection, also known as NJSEED program, provides comprehensive education, outreach, early detection, case management, screening, and follow-up in all 21 counties, and whereas New Jersey's statewide campaign to end colorectal cancer promotes education, awareness, and taking action against this disease, and whereas New Jersey's statewide campaign to end colorectal cancer encourages individuals, organizations, and health professionals in New Jersey to collaborate and partner on screening and educational awareness initiatives, and whereas this campaign is being conducted through the NJSEED program in the New Jersey Department of Health and Senior Services with the overall mission of reducing colorectal cancer incidence and deaths, increasing colorectal cancer awareness and prevention behaviors, developing support partnership, and extending and reinforcing the core message for behavioral change. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim March 2019 as Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month in the Village of Ridgewood, New Jersey, and urges our residents to educate themselves about colorectal cancer.
Thank you. National Poison Prevention Week. Councilman Seaton.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas Congress designated the third full week in March to be National Poison Prevention Week in 1961, and since then, this week has helped to raise national awareness of the dangers of potentially poisonous medicines, household chemicals, and other substances. Whereas poisoning is a preventable illness, from the youngest to the oldest, all people and even pets are at risk. And whereas poison centers across the country will focus the public's attention on identifying poisoning hazards at home as well as learning ways to prevent poisoning emergencies. And whereas poisoning is identified as anything that is taken in the wrong amount, in the wrong way, or by the wrong person. And whereas unintentional poisoning is the leading cause of unintentional injury death in New Jersey, outnumbering deaths by motor vehicles and firearms. And whereas drug overdose deaths include those from prescription and over-the-counter medications, as well as illegal drugs such as heroin and methamphetamines, remain at epidemic portions in both New Jersey and the United States. And whereas approximately 94% of unintentional poison deaths nationally and 96% in New Jersey, drugs are the poison. And whereas although the majority of reported poison exposures involve children 5 years old and younger, the majority of poisoning deaths occur in adults aged 20 to 59. And whereas lead poisoning remains a major public concern, elevated blood lead levels can cause significant and permanent damage to the health and well-being of a young child. There is no safe level of lead. Stop a child's exposure to lead before it causes harm. And whereas the New Jersey Poison Information and Education System, NJPIES, a division of the Department of Emergency Medicine of the New Jersey Medical School of Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, provides expert advice, drug information, and poison prevention education to New Jersey residents through the 800-222-1222 Poison Helpline, chatting at www.njpies.org, or texting 800-222-1222 at njpies.org. And whereas all services are free, confidential, multilingual, and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, even during bouts of Mother Nature. And whereas consumers must be aware that e-cigarette devices, hookah pipes, and liquid nicotine may contain very high doses of nicotine in enticing colors, aromas, and flavors, increasing the likelihood that small children and pets will focus their attention on them. These products pose serious risk of poisoning. And whereas NJPIES is also involved with the state's effort in homeland defense, counterterrorism, emergency preparedness and response, biosurveillance, and surveillance of clusters of poisonings and their sources, products, food and beverages, chemicals in the workplace and at home, environmental toxins, drugs and medicine, and animal and insect bites and stings. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim the week of March 17th to 23rd, 2019, as National Poison Prevention Week in New Jersey, and encourages all citizens to pledge their commitment to ensuring the safety of themselves, their families, and their community.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Everybody got that?
You need a break? With that, we'll go to comments from the public, not to exceed 3 minutes per person. Good evening.
Good evening, Tony Damiano, 274 South Broad Street. Two issues tonight. I'm here on behalf of our spa and salon community, who, from what I understand, is now being hit on by the village for an annual inspection to the cost of $150 to $200. It seems kind of repetitive that if they have a state inspection, why would they need a village inspection? Second issue, snow removal, which I am a big advocate of. Actually, I spoke a couple years ago about how a lot of the vacant buildings were never plowed. I'm referring to a couple weeks ago when we had the heavier storm. Some of the businesses were given summonses at 9:30 in the morning. I know myself, by the time I shoveled myself out at home and got to my business, it was 11 o'clock. Was it heavier snow? I stayed all day because I had work to do with the magazine, but I shoveled 3 times during that day. So I'm just wondering how the businesses are selected to be ticketed, and when, if there's any type of ruling. Also, if there are any services available that we can hire to shovel our businesses, because it is tedious, And in a case where it snows all day, it's like, well, what do? You put the TV on, they're telling you not to go outside. So just questioning that as well and looking for answers, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Donald Lieberg, 219 Hope Street. I am the chairman of the Community Center Advisory Board. I've been serving that responsibility for the last 5 years, and we've accomplished quite a bit. And I was very enthused today to see that the budgets for 2019 are going up, and I assume that will be also Parks and Recreation, and improvements that we have to make in the community center. Community center services the broad range of residents in the village of Ridgewood. We're very big with the senior people, with the HILT organization, and also age-friendly Ridgewood, which was founded by members of our board, applied for a grant and got it from Taub, and we're proceeding with that. We hope it doesn't run out in the next year. One of the interesting things to me is that over the 5 years, we've had the same volunteers show up for all of our meetings, which I understand is kind of unique. But I just thought I'd take a minute to mention this to the village council, to say that we appreciate the effort you're making to improve the financial situation for Parks and Recreation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I wish to speak about some thoughts that I've had recently.
Please identify yourself.
Name and address, please.
Nancy Boudin, 936 Glenview Road. I've been here in town for over 48 years. I've raised my family here. And now as a single senior for many years, I have felt more and more the need for community. So I'd like to share a little bit about those feelings about the community. There may be small pieces in my life, but they've become quite large. And a small piece of that is Haber-Nickel Park. It's a very, very special place for me. I spend many hours walking there, observing, enjoying nature. And it was to my delight when about 4 years ago, of course we called it the horse farm in the old days, when the barn came, the health barn arrived about 4 years ago, to my delight. Over time, I became more happy to be able to get involved there further and further during special occasions. First, before that, I got to meet Stacy. Stacy is the woman who runs the health barn. She's a very warm and caring person, and her staff are wonderful, wonderful people. I've learned to exchange plants with them. I've learned more about gardening than I've ever had in my knowledge for many, many years, and how to care for my garden. So over time, I was happy to be able to get more involved there. And personally, the special occasions such as a community culinary gathering, at which time, and to my delight, I met other neighbors, some of whom we exchanged phone numbers together. Then at another date, I attended a not just neighborhood holiday gathering there this past year. And once again, to my delight, I met more neighbors who I did not know, and they invited me into their homes. So learning about the health barn is not just for children, but also for me too, and other adults. And it gives me such a truly wonderful sense of community, a place where I too can continue to learn. I've gotten to know Stacy more over the years. That she is so involved and engaged in this community, her values are amazing. And I personally know that she is always there to help anyone when they need help. She really wishes to be and has been a special part of this community. Her Healing Meals programs have become a more recent involvement for me in this, my community. It may become more one of the more important involvements that I have had in many years here. I have seen firsthand how children with their families are learning, amongst other things, how to be cooperative part of the team.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
How are you? Good morning.
Good morning.
Good evening.
Good
sorry.
evening.
My name is Iqbal Kadwani. I own a salon in Ridgewood, New Jersey for 12 years. And I came to this town because of my wife. And she told me to, why don't you try Ridgewood, New Jersey? And I came in and I flourished. I opened a salon 12 years ago on Karma Organic Spa. And it's been delighted. Everything is amazing until this. The only reason we're here because they started this new laws about because we already regulated by state to have a nail salon, and we get inspected by the state. Now we get inspected by town. So that's the only reason I'm here, and all my follow people, so everybody's here for the same reason, because we got double jeopardy now. So we already get inspected by state, we pay the state, now we're paying the town. It's got to be, I don't know. I pay the fine. I already pay the $200. I already pay. I'm not fighting this, but I'm just saying. It's got to be another way around it. I don't know. If the town is short of money or something, they can contribute some other way around it. I don't know. They ask for charity. I would have paid for $200 because I've been here 12 years and it's doing great. This is the best town ever. I love it. I love Ridgewood, New Jersey, and I'm not even complaining about it because Ridgewood is the best schools for best school. People come from all over the world to come here to be in this school system. People come here for the best restaurant. People come here for the best food. Everything is great here. So I'm just here. I'm just here to support everybody else. So thank you so much. Think about it, bottom of your heart, whatever. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Good evening.
I also agree with Naz.
Name and address, please.
My name is Laura Petroselli. I own Laura Selly Salon in Ridgewood. I live in Hawthorne, New Jersey. I recently opened the salon a year ago, and I too agree with Naz that I'm so fortunate to have a business in Ridgewood. And when I was looking for locations, I found this location, and I love it. And I love to have my business in Ridgewood. In regards to the new cosmetology ordinance number 3692 adopted in December, salon owners were given an application for a license and a fee which we feel was unnecessary and costly duplicate regulation. We already pay a licensing fee and are regulated by the state. We met with the mayor, village manager, and the Board of Health supervisor on February 21st to question this ordinance. We were told that it was on trend and for public health, but they could give us no rational basis for this new ordinance. Our records of complaints involving Ridgewood salons. We were also told that the State Board of Beauty Culture and its inspectors are in favor of the towns inspecting beauty salons and creating this duplicate license. But there are no documents to support that. How could towns understand the nuances that take place in a salon? Only a licensed cosmetologist who attended school, passed a written and practical exam, would know what is required. I did make a phone call to legal representation at the Board of Beauty Culture. She stated that they are not involved. I also learned that this was not generated by Consumer Affairs. We questioned the fee and how they justify the cost and who would be inspecting our salons, the salary of that person. The response was very ambiguous. Most of the salons paid this licensing fee by the due date. Those who paid late or didn't pay received a summons and a court date, which we had adjourned until after our next meeting with the mayor, village manager, and the Board of Health supervisor. We are still waiting a response. I'm here today because I feel that this is unfair, discriminatory ordinance placed upon salons period. As small business owners in Ridgewood, we must meet the many challenges of parking, high rent, and compete for business to keep our salons profitable. I know I speak for all the salon owners when I say we have pride in ownership and standards when it comes to conducting business in Ridgewood. Our clients' satisfaction, health, and safety are always our top priorities. In closing, I respectfully ask that this ordinance be reviewed and repealed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there. Sandy Del Aguila. I own Tapestry Hairdressing Salon. I'm also a resident of Ridgewood. I've been a resident since 1989. I've been a business owner since 1991, my husband and I. We love being here, and our business has seen its ups and downs throughout the years. When we started in 1991, there was a hair salon on every corner. That isn't the case anymore. That has changed substantially over the years. My husband and I have gone through 4 renovations. We moved 3 different times. We have gone by all the rules and regulations of the town. We've always had a good relationship with all of the people in the town. We give back constantly. We were the first salon that did the fashion show, sometimes doing up to 80 girls without any remuneration. But we did it because we care. And it's important to us. I was very upset about the fact that this came by so quickly, and this ordinance, that it came through. We didn't know anything about it, and all of a sudden, our busiest weeks of the year, where we barely even have time to eat, we have this letter. I actually ripped mine up because I thought it was a joke. I didn't think it was for real. I taped it together. I did pay it because I was afraid. I didn't want to have another summons, so I did pay it. But it was very, very poorly planned as far as I'm concerned. I felt like we should have been notified. I felt like we should have had some kind of say in this matter. We take our jobs very seriously, as Laura said. We can have the Board of Beauty Culture stop in at any time. We never know. I know when Ridgewood Fire Department is going to come in every August. I know that I need to get my act together. I need to make sure that I have everything in place. The Board of Beauty Culture doesn't give us that opportunity. They can show up at our doorstep at any time, which means that we have to be on our toes all the time, and we take it very seriously. I went around just before we met with the mayor. I went around to I kind of am on the east side. So I went around to every salon, and what a beautiful thing it was to go into every salon and be welcomed, to have a community like that. To walk into every salon, and one was more beautiful than the other. I'm a salon owner, and I looked at these salons, and I was so impressed with the cleanliness, with how everybody's license is. Everything is all for you to see. I feel like this is over and above. We are regulated. I know some of your concerns are they don't get out enough. They do get out. They get out when they can, and the point that I'm trying to make is they will show up without any, we don't know. So all that to say that I just feel that this was not done well. I'm not somebody that really likes a lot of conflict. I've been in this town for many, many years. So anyway.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening.
Good evening. It's nice to see you. Richard Brooks, B-R-O-O-K-S. I live at 777 East Ridgewood Avenue. And tonight I'd like to speak on behalf of the Parks, Recreation, and Conservation Board. The reason I'm here basically is just to thank you for your support and thank Mrs. Mailander for her support and working with not only the volunteers but our really tremendous staff at Parks and Rec. It's been a good year for us. We've accomplished a lot. We've done things like gotten tennis courts resurfaced. We're in the process of redesigning the batting cages at Vets Field. We have Wi-Fi installed at Graydon, and it seems to be making a big difference. We replaced the turf at Maple Park East. And on the recreation and programming side, I just wanted to read you a couple of things because this group of professionals who work with the volunteers is so dedicated, so creative. But we have middle school mixers, preschool music program, magnetism workshop, creative art lab for K to third grade, exercise programs for older adults, middle school fitness program, teen chefs in training, adult nutrition 101, children's nutrition and making healthy snacks, yoga and meditation for grades 6 through 8, animal science for grades K through 5, and that's just February and March. This stuff happens all year round, and it's phenomenal. I don't know any other community that's like this, and I really don't know any group of dedicated staff members who work as hard as this group does. So in the upcoming year, the Parks and Rec Board is always fired up because we have this great support and they come to us with great ideas. So we're going to continue making evolutionary enhancements at Graydon, as well as all the other parks and public spaces, including, hopefully, restrooms. We're going to continue to develop communication tools that are more effective, more efficient, and take advantage of available technology. And we're going to do that with your help, which we really appreciate. And certainly we're going to use the guidance of Ms. Nancy Bigos, who's doing a tremendous job leading this group. So thank you again for all of your support, and we look forward to being in front of you sometime soon, talking about some other great stuff. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hello again.
Hello. We're back. Ryan Campbell from Church of God in Ridgewood.
And I'm Sue Marie from 114 Ackerman Avenue, also from Church of God.
We're actually here on behalf of the Church of God because we're holding a mega blood drive this Sunday on March 17th. So we actually wanted to come because we're having over 200 registered donors already registered. So it's going to be a pretty decent sized event. So we have a lot of support from the local businesses, and they were willing to hang up our flyer. And we also just wanted to come and reach out and see if the council would like to come and support as well. I think it would be, we just wanted to invite you to see if you'd be willing to support or come.
What time?
From 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
So anytime in between, you guys are more than welcome to
really
stop by.
Wait, you know what? I didn't hear you. Speak into the microphone. Bring it down a little.
So anytime in between, like between 10 a.m. or 4 p.m., you guys are more than welcome to stop by. As you know, donating blood can save up to 3 lives, so it's a great cause. And also, the last time we were here, you guys mentioned a few things that you guys have coming up in April. So for Earth Day, I believe it was April 14th, correct me if I'm wrong, between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. you guys had an event on the Village Square, I believe it was?
Just slow down. Just speak a little, just slower. Go ahead. Go.
So on April 14th, you guys, I believe you guys have an event for Earth Day.
Great. Okay.
Between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. So we met as a size, and we gathered all the volunteers, and we also wanted to participate in that. So is there anything that you guys, our question was, is there anything that we can do on behalf, or what kind of activities are going to go on? Because I know you guys just mentioned it very briefly. Also Mayor, you mentioned about a project that Bergen County was doing to restore the ecological ponds, I believe.
Duck pond.
The duck pond. So we also wanted to participate in that, even though we're not a construction site, but we can also do volunteer services there as well. So, yeah.
We brought flyers, well, not flyers, but little cards for the blood drive.
What's the address, by the way? Where is it going to be? 305 Godwin Avenue. Okay.
Right next to Citizens Park.
Got it.
You can't miss it.
Yeah.
Heather, Matt.
Who's your contact for Earth Day?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You want to tell me?
Yeah.
Just real quick, Nancy Bigos, the Director of Parks and Recreation, is in the back, and she's working to coordinate Earth Day events and everything. So if you wanted to talk to her, there's a form that you would have to fill out if you wanted a table. So if you talk to her back there, she could probably direct you. She could definitely help you out.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll close public comments, but before we go, I know there's some questions that were raised. First of all, this is, I hope you get them, this is on St. Patrick's Day, I hope you get the blood before.
It's going to be green, the blood.
Just wanted to, I know there were some issues, some questions raised about the cosmetology ordinance, and I just want to kind of go through some of the facts regarding it. Prior to this, there was no licensing in the village, which really meant no regulation from our end. We did have a lot of folks come into these doors looking for some relief, which we couldn't provide because we had no jurisdiction, no authority. As to the number of complaints of what they were, again, because we had no regulation, there was no log, there was no necessity to keep track of the things that we don't regulate. You only manage what you measure. The state, quite frankly, has been completely overwhelmed. They're really understaffed. They've actually pleaded to us to help by licensing. Sometimes the state could go years without inspecting a salon. And then they can take up to 120 days to respond to cases. There was a question as to whether or not this was some way to sort of, make our budget and money. If you factor in that there's 8 establishments that will pay the $200 licensing fee and only 37 that will pay $150, it's about $7,150. We're not going to make a $150 million budget on $7,000. The fee is really to cover the costs of visiting and following up, inspecting 45 salons in town. That this was done somehow quickly and without noticing anybody. This was discussed at a public meeting late last year. The meeting was noticed like any other meeting. I know the Chamber and the Guild do a great job of informing the businesses of the things that are coming up, so I'm sure they did the same with this ordinance. There was a letter that was sent out to all the salons on December 18th, advising them of the changes. The letter required licenses due at the end of January. That was listed in the letter. January 31st, I believe, was the deadline. When some of the businesses had not responded or come in for pay the licensing fee, we made phone calls to remind them and also had in-person visits to the establishments. All of this was done before the summonses were issued on February 11th of this year. There are other towns that have similar licenses: Hackensack, Paramus, Hoboken. It's actually $250 in Hoboken. Palisades Park, Fairlawn. This is not meant as a money grab. It's not meant to pick on anybody. There are other businesses that are regulated both at the state and local level. Daycare, camps, more having to do with anything dealing with public health and sanitary conditions. That there's no expertise from the village in terms of who can do these inspections. Our inspector actually has a master's degree. I think he's pretty qualified to do the inspections. There were some questions about how businesses are selected to be ticketed. We don't select anybody to be ticketed. We do inspections of the sidewalk, and if there's snow past the 9:30 a.m. deadline, a summons is issued. Any services that will do the snow removal, I'm sure there are plenty, but I mean, those are private businesses. You would have to check with them. That's it. Anybody else want to address anything?
I actually do. I have 2 points for the salon owners. I think I'd like to better understand your perspective, and sitting here just hearing your comments in opposition to something, or that there's no relevancy to this as it relates to what the village is charged with doing. I think I'd like to understand your perspective, so maybe if you can, one of you can send me an email you can just go on the website, sknudsen@ridgewoodnj.net, and just send an email, and I think I'd like to just have a conversation to better understand. I know that my salon owner, she and I had a conversation when I was just getting my nails done last week, and we had a dialogue about this, so I think I'd like to have a little bit more information and better understand where you're coming from. So let's do that. One of you just email, and we'll get something together. I have a quick question relative to Tony. If there's a state of emergency, I think to Tony's point, if there's a declared state of emergency, what is the obligation of somebody in the CBD? Does that obligation, shoveling time, change, or is there some...
Currently, our ordinance indicates that in the central business districts that the snow has to be removed concurrently with it falling. So it's different than in residential districts. But there is no difference in the ordinance if there's a state of emergency. Many times the governor declares that because this way we can get possibly FEMA reimbursement. You know, I understand about travel, but that is part of the reason for the governor to declare a state of emergency.
Yeah, I mean, a state of emergency, in my mind, it's like reason not to kind of hang out and do nothing at home. So a state of emergency, they're saying, don't go on the road.
There's no impact.
I'm sorry?
There isn't any impact of a statewide declaration of emergency on our local ordinance with regard to snow removal.
But I mean, is that something we should be considering? I mean, it's maybe just another conversation, but I hear what you're saying, because if there's a state of emergency and you're being told not to be on the roads because we need emergency vehicles to get out there and clear and salt and plow and everything else, how are you supposed to travel to get to there? So I think maybe something we just need to have a conversation about. So that's all. I'm good.
Anybody else?
So I'll just, this came up, I had my chamber meeting this morning, so this did come up. There were a couple of, I don't know if anybody received pictures. I asked Gary to send me pictures. There was a couple of sidewalks that were shoveled, perhaps not shoveled all the way, but there was clearly a walking space for somebody to walk by, and that individual that shop did get a ticket. It wasn't shoveled all the way. So I guess, you know, what is considered shoveled? Is it that it has to be a clear pathway of, you know, so many inches, or does it have to be the entire surface in front of the business? I don't know if anybody has that.
I'd have to look at the ordinance to know exactly how much would have to be done.
Yeah, because it was, I would say, probably 80% shoveled, and they got a ticket.
And that's going to be up to, if there was a ticket, then it's going to be up to the municipal judge to decide what that definition is. Okay. So that's something we can look at as well.
Okay, and then the only other thing in terms of the snow removal, or to kind of go along with it, the snow was all piled in one location that virtually was blocking line of sight, view, and corner of a couple of businesses, so that it virtually, you know, made it impossible for somebody to get in.
Was that on Prospect Street?
It was on Chestnut.
Chestnut?
Yeah, and it was like an 8-foot-high pile of snow, so.
Chestnut
North? At the top. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the other, because, you know, that was literally falling into the sidewalk, but it also was just, you know, it created a new hazard, so.
Because you have to drive around?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, so that was just, I'll have to give my report early, but. That's it.
Spoiler alert.
That's it for now.
Right, with that, we're good.
All right. Move on. Manager's report.
Okay, the Village of Ridgewood is celebrating its 125th anniversary this year in 2019, and the Village Council is looking for residents to serve on that 125th anniversary celebration committee. Come and join us as we plan special events and activities for this milestone anniversary celebration so that it's memorable for all Village residents. If you would like to serve on the Village of Ridgewood's 125th anniversary celebration committee, please call or email Eileen Young in the village clerk's office no later than March 25th. Please provide her with your contact information, and then we'll get in touch with you. This information is on our village website, so please take a look if you're interested in serving. Tomorrow, March 14th, the New Jersey Historic Preservation Office will vote on a nomination to approve the John A.L. Zabriskie Shedler House being added to the New Jersey and National Register of Historic Places. This has been a long road, and I know that our historic architects, Conway and Hickey, will be at this hearing, and so we're looking forward to a positive result from that hearing. Another public hearing will be held on Tuesday, March 19th at 7 p.m. during the regularly scheduled freeholder meeting. The purpose of the hearing is to obtain public comment on a grant application which is being submitted to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Green Acres Program. The application will be for park improvements and ecological restoration involving the Wild Duck Pond area located at the Saddle River County Park. The meeting will take place in the County Administration Building, public meeting room on the 5th floor at 1 Bergen County Plaza in Hackensack. The Division of Land Management will make a brief presentation followed by a question and answer period, and all residents are encouraged to attend and participate. I want to remind everyone, again, the Board of Education election will be held on Tuesday, April 16th for a vote on the budget only. Polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. For anyone who may be away, you may request a mail-in ballot so that you can vote by mail. The Board of Education election in April 2020 will have a vote on both the candidates and the budget. There will be no November Board of Education election this year. March 26th is the final date to register for the Board of Education election, and the village clerk's office will have staff in the library lobby from 4:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. to register. As long as you get your registration in by 9 p.m. that evening, you will be registered for that election. I would like to remind you, on days when snow or ice is forecast, let's hope we don't have too much more in the coming days, please bring your garbage cans to the curb for collection. Ridgewood staff will only resume rear yard garbage pickup once there is a path to the garbage cans, which is clear of ice and snow. And then all snow must be removed in residential zones within 24 hours of it falling. The annual Weight Loss Challenge postcards have been mailed to every Ridgewood household. The challenge begins on Thursday, March 21st. You have to call the number on the card in order to sign up. There are prizes for those who participate. Tickets are handed out, and at the end, you can cash them in for prizes. I have mentioned that the village will be using geese peace protocols to humanely reduce the geese population. More information about reporting geese nests and volunteering to help with geese peace is on the village website. On Friday, March 29th in the afternoon and Saturday, March 30th in the morning, a representative from Geese Peace will be making a presentation. Anyone interested in volunteering for Geese Peace should attend this presentation. There are more details to follow. I just want to, again, remind everyone to sign up for e-notices by clicking on the button Sign Up for Alerts at the bottom of the village website.
Thank you. Councilman Seaton, council reports.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing to report this week.
All right. Deputy Mayor?
Mike never has nothing to report. Okay, thank you. So last night was an exciting and proud moment for Ridgewood. The Ridgewood Arts Council hosted an artist talk featuring writer-director Dana Glazer, whose new movie, A Case of Blue, was the subject of last night's artist talk at the Upper Ridgewood Tennis Club. To standing room only, jam-packed room. It was just amazing. Dana spoke about the movie. He is the writer and director of this event, The Case of Blue. Present were Stephen Schnetzer, who is the star leading man of the movie, and producer Scott Rosenfeld, who's also producer of Home Alone. It was very exciting. Dana spoke about how the entire process from writing, storyboards, production, directing, casting, costuming, location, permits, very complicated process for an independent filmmaker. And it was just really an exciting event, followed up by a private event at Pearl Restaurant. So Dana also happens to be a member of the Ridgewood Arts Council, which is a council appointed by this village council. I want to just shout out special thanks to the Arts Council Chair Audrey Fink and members Frank Del Vecchio, Sean Flanagan, Sherry Frank, Rosie McCooey, Michael Walsh, and Max Viola of Pearl Restaurant. And I was there along with the mayor and Councilman Seaton, and it was really, really exciting. And just as a little synopsis, if I get this up on my phone, A Case of Blue, you can visit acaseofblue.com to learn more about the movie. A haunting tale of love lost, the impermanence of memories, and the enduring flame of passion through time. Very, very exciting event for Ridgewood last night. So thanks, Dana, and thanks, Ridgewood Arts Council. And hopefully in everybody's mailbox, business owners, residents, everyone, every single address in the village should be receiving, hitting mailboxes today, is this card, which is the Our Village, Our Future, Visioning for Ridgewood's Next Master Plan postcard, and this invites everyone to participate in the visioning process survey, which is the first step to a new master plan for the village. And a new master plan is a document that directs future growth, economics, and stability throughout the village. So very exciting. People, if you go to the website, visionridgewood.org, you can take the survey online. You can place yourself in visioning. I forget what they call this. Map your vision. So you can actually make points of interest throughout the village and kind of make little notations so other people see where you're at and what you find interesting. And for folks that do not have a computer, don't have access to online, they can actually contact the village clerk's office at 201-670-5500, extension 205. We will mail a hard copy. We have those in the office now. We'll mail a hard copy. The survey can be completed and sent right back to the village clerk, and those will just be manually inserted into the system. So really exciting. Please look for this card. Please take the survey. Be a part of the village's future. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Walsh?
I'm going to continue my chamber.
The monthly parking meeting?
The monthly parking meeting. So we have two ordinances that we are going to speak about this evening, 3713 and 3717, which have to do with the 3713 is the train station lot and changing the parking spots there to be for anybody that's going to park. And then 3717 was the outdoor cafe ordinance. So obviously the chamber is, interested, concerned about these ordinances and how they perhaps could impact businesses. But we're going to talk about them obviously when we get a few pages down in the agenda. We talked about the kiosks and the numbers that we received, and I indicated that we wanted to have a better understanding of how those numbers were tallied and how they were calculated, including the parking passes, and then showing us transactional, how many transactions, so that we have a better understanding of why those numbers jumped so dramatically, because I think we really need a better understanding, and I think they want a better understanding of that as well. I was given a letter that somebody sent to the chamber regarding the Hudson lot and the signage in the Hudson lot. They came to park there. They came in the evening or when it was dark. They hoped that they had parked in the right spot, and it ended up they parked in a commuter spot, and they indicated that it was virtually impossible for them to understand the signage in the Hudson lot. But the other question about the Hudson lot that came up was, we sold the passes for commuters in the Hudson lot with the lift once the lot is closed down, but there's virtually nobody parking in those spots. So we're all a little confused as to why commuters that bought those passes are not parking in those spots. Not that we, I don't know if we have an answer, but those spots are remaining vacant, and there are individuals who specifically bought the Hudson lot spot. So, Heather, how many of those did we sell?
Offhand, I don't know. I can get that to you.
Okay.
But we have 55 have not been sold.
Yeah, you showed me a couple of pictures where they're basically, there's nobody parking in them.
So, some of the concern was people didn't know exactly how the lift program was going to work. We're about to go out probably within the next few weeks for proposals on that. It's not necessarily a lift, it's a rideshare program. So it could be Uber, Lyft, or any other kind of rideshare program. But the point is that perhaps once we award a contract for that type of service, more people would want to then purchase possibly a Hudson Street lot permit because they'll better understand what the parameters of the program will be.
So, all right, so then am I to understand that we didn't sell all the spots out, so they're virtually sitting vacant?
We have not sold all the spots, so
they're
if we
sitting
haven't,
vacant?
then they will be vacant, yes, because it's only for that lot, because there was no way to sell it as part of the premium package, because those people are not going to participate in the Lyft or the ride-sharing program.
Right. So is there any way for us to, the ones that didn't sell out, to
We'd have to
open
amend
them
the
up?
ordinance. We have to discuss it further and then amend an ordinance and then
I mean,
decide
they showed me
what to do.
pictures and they're basically, the lot is vacant. So,
Well, remember, tonight we're going to introduce an ordinance that after 3 o'clock, anyone can park in the lots without a permit, and they just have to pay the meters.
that's
and
the
they,
train, that's not the Hudson.
No.
It's everything, all the lots.
lots?
Yep.
All the lots,
Is it all? I thought
All
it
of
was-
all the lots.
Okay. Okay.
So that we're introducing tonight, we'll be adopting in April, it'll be effective in May. So come May, everything, all the lots, 3 to 8 p.m. will be able, anyone can park there. They do have to still pay the meters, the 3-hour limit is still in effect.
Okay.
So they just have to keep that in mind as to when they come in, it's still 3 hours, but.
Yeah, okay, I thought it was just the train station lot. And then the only other thing, one of the members asked if there was just a general update on the garage and like when is shovel going in the ground, if we had that answer.
Coming soon.
Yeah, soon.
Okay, that's all I had.
Thank you. Councilman Boyd?
Thank you, Mayor. Friendly reminder on some upcoming events. Age Friendly has Elder Law on March 19th at 6:30 to 7:30. Ridgewood Public Library. The lawyer is Irina Shea, an expert on organizing legal and financial affairs to minimize stress. April 30th, This Chair Rocks, a manifesto against ageism, again at Ridgewood Public Library from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. The author Ashton Applewhite will be talking about that particular issue. St. Patrick's Day Party, March 23rd, 2019, Mount Carmel Church, 7 to 11 p.m., put on by the Knights of Columbus. The tickets for the event can be found at the Knights of Columbus Council 1736 website. It's $60 per person. They can be purchased by PayPal or check. All proceeds go to charity. It's really a fun evening of entertainment. Bagpipers, Irish dancers, the band Celtic Cross, food, beer. Many people typically buy a table of 8 and sit with friends. So it's a very good evening. So that would be it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Nothing to report, just CBDOC meeting tomorrow is canceled. Next meeting will be on April 11th.
Okay, so we're going to move on to our 2019 budget introduction and our budget message. I'll have Bob Rooney come up at this time, our CFO. I just want to mention that our budget season starts back in July when all the budget material is handed out to the department directors. We move forward and both Bob Rooney and Steve Sandari, our treasurer, meet with the individual departments about their budgets. They then come back later and then meet with me and Bob and Steve. And then we go through again, and Bob and Steve reduce the budgets further. And then we come to budget meetings with the council, and the department directors give their achievements, their goals, and their budgets, and discuss any information that perhaps is not clear or perhaps is vary from year to year. And then after that, Bob and Steve and I meet to winnow down the requests another time. And then, for example, this time, less than a week ago, within 1 hour, we had to reduce the budget by another $1 million. So in order to get to the price point, the tax rate that we wanted. I want to thank all of the department directors for everything that they've done through this budget season. I know that sometimes we have to give up some of our requests or we compromise. That's certainly the case with capital projects and capital purchases, also for your budgets. I also want to thank Bob Rooney and Steve Sanzari for all of their hard work for a good 8 months of the year. So with that, I'd just like to start with our PowerPoint presentation, 2018 accomplishments and highlights. We had an village-wide office shred day. We designed and implemented placing new monitors and screens, which we're looking at right now in the courtroom. It's used for PowerPoint presentations and by the municipal court. Public Wi-Fi was installed in Graydon Pool, the stable, and Village Hall. We've deployed the e-ticketing for use by the police department and parking enforcement. Improvements made to the village website to make it more user-friendly. We obtained recertification of Village's Community Rating Service, which allows property owners needing to purchase flood insurance a 20% discount on their premium. We obtained NJDOT paving grants in the amount of $380,627, which reduced our need for village capital funds. We established connections in Village Hall for an emergency generator, which was funded through a FEMA grant. We repaired the Pease Library stairs to Corsa Terrace and repaired the stairs from the pedestrian tunnel to the center train platform. We upgraded lighting at several critical crosswalks in the CBD, which will continue this year. We worked with Age Friendly Ridgewood to identify hazardous sidewalks in the CBD. We coordinated the Wellness Festival and the Weight Loss Challenge. We established ordinances for licensing of e-cigarettes and establishing penalties for sale to minors, licensing of barbershops, nail salons, spas, and hair salons. And we also adopted a new poultry and fowl ordinance, making it easier for residents to have chickens. We distributed 83 radon testing kits, and that was actually obtained through a grant which we obtained, which we were then able to give these testing kits to the Ridgewood residents. We changed the vendor and enhanced the village's fixed asset inventory system to address correct valuation methodology, asset identification, and proper documentation. We enhanced accounting for capital assets by incorporating specific identification of IT equipment. We expanded the use of kiosks in the central business district. We now have a total of 7 kiosks. We prepared a financial and debt management plan, which was adopted by the Village Council. We implemented select 2017 recommendations from rating agencies, which allowed us to maintain the village's AAA rating. We purchased the Goffle Road property for use by Ridgewood Water as a treatment facility. In our building department, we redirected department operations based on the fact that the state established fewer regulations and inspections be performed for ordinary maintenance and minor work, and hosted a public forum for contractors on these new regulations. We developed a plan review and process checklist for new CBD construction projects. We assisted with the development of the outdoor display and temporary storage container ordinances, met with all multifamily development contractor groups to discuss project planning on their sites. In Fleet, we entered into shared services with Washington Township and the Board of Education for the repair and maintenance of vehicles. We also created a reporting system so that Washington Township can receive updates on the status of the repair of their vehicles from one point person. In streets, we purchased new equipment, making leaf pickup and plowing more efficient. In Parks and Recreation, we planted over 200 shade trees in 2018, which was the most in the last 35 years. We continued development of the Shedler property, the Zabriskie Shedler House, and Kings Pond Park restoration rehabilitation. We achieved Graydon Pool with the best water quality in many years and provided free firewood for residents, resulting in lower dumping costs and fees. In the fire department, we hired 2 new firefighters who've completed firefighter 1 and 2 and they're enrolled in EMT training. Maintain a high rating of 2 from the Insurance Services Office for the fire department, which keeps insurance costs low for residents and business owners. We received grants for computers for the fire department with assistance from Millennium Strategies, our grant writers. Proactively, all of our firefighters were trained in active shooter response. The Village of Ridgewood was one of 4 towns in Bergen County to receive a grant for bulletproof vests and helmets for our firefighters at no cost to the village. We replaced the 1940s bathroom and a 25-year-old roof at 311 West Glen Avenue by working with firefighters and the Traffic and Signal Department with significant savings. In our police department, we have fully implemented the new scheduling software. The police officers and management have access on phones for their schedules, their overtime, their training, and extra duty overtime. This will be integrated into the payroll system hopefully this year in 2019. The Shedler Park property is the Zabriskie Shedler House. We developed the final design of the Shedler Park property with a field, a parking lot, a playground, and walking paths. We brought in free landfill for multifamily housing developments and Ridgewood water projects. So the dirt came in to create the berm and level out the land. For the Zabriskie Shoveler House, we held hearings on pre-approval of bidders for the historic house for replacement of the roof, as well as interior restoration of the house, including replacement of doors and windows, plumbing, HVAC, and renovation of kitchen to make it a catering kitchen. Kings Pond Park restoration, working with Parks and Recreation and Engineering, a plan was developed for the restoration of Kings Pond Park, which includes a stone-dust walking path, 2 small parking lots, planting of trees, curbing, and a possibility for a playground in the future. We met with representatives from Bergen County Department of Public Works for shared services to dredge Kings Pond and conduct dewatering to the pond, which I think is going to take place very soon, actually. We met with for tree trimming and brush removal at the View at Crest Road. We met with the neighbors of both Hillcrest Road, below the View, and Crest Road to conduct trimming of the trees. We restored the View at Crest Road for the benefit of all Ridgewood residents as well as out-of-town guests. Central Business District improvements. We approved $12 million in funding for the Hudson Street parking garage. We approved a new configuration for the train station parking lot, which will create 36 parking spaces for shoppers, diners, and commuters on the west side of the train station. We created flex parking spaces in the Cottage Place lot, which can be used by CBD employees or shoppers and diners on a first-come, first-served basis. We amended our B1, B2 zoning in the CBD to include more modern uses, which will bring a new mix of businesses and make it easier for today's businesses to open without the need for a use variance. We adopted the blade sign ordinance to beautify the town. We adopted regulations for outdoor displays to allow businesses to promote themselves with more individuality. We established free parking in parking lots in December on Saturdays leading up to Christmas. Worked with the Ridgewood Arts Council to beautify empty storefronts for the Christmas holidays. We also purchased the Elks Club, which is the last contiguous piece of property to the current municipal campus. It will increase the efficiency of the Ridgewood Water Department personnel, as they will all be located in Ridgewood. The Village Council also approved a contract with Swaggart, which will update and enhance the televising of Village Council meetings. This contract also approves the purchase of permanently mounted cameras in the Village courtroom, and it also may be expanded in the future to televise other meetings, such as Planning Board and Zoning Board of Adjustment meetings. In the Water Department, successfully conducted 3 rounds of lead and copper testing, which resulted in an 82% reduction in blood levels and the lowest lead and copper levels ever recorded in the system. We enhanced communications with consumers, regulators, and stakeholders of all municipalities in Ridgewood Water. We held water forums in all 4 municipalities to educate them about the various aspects of Ridgewood Water and its operations. We distributed educational material to all consumers of Ridgewood Water about PFAS and other contaminants and took a proactive stance in treating these contaminants. We engaged a law firm to help us to identify the sources of contamination in the Ridgewood Water utility and pursue lawsuits against these sources in order to reduce remediation costs. We made substantial improvements to the water facilities and infrastructure, including the CARP facility treatment plant, which will provide millions of gallons of additional water to the system in the summer of 2019. We purchased Goffle Road property for use by Ridgewood Water as a treatment facility. Moving on to 2019 goals. We're going to review plans, provide permits, and inspect the multifamily housing buildings. We're going to expand the public Wi-Fi to Memorial Park at Van Ness Square. We'll install an improved sound system and acoustics in the Village Hall courtroom, improve the broadcasting of Village Council meetings, enhance the stigma-free committee with more outreach to the village and its residents, hire new management and supervisory positions for longtime employees who are retiring. We're going to establish a revenue consolidation system and allow for credit card use throughout various departments. We'll begin construction of the Hudson Street parking garage. We continue to foster communication to the Ridgewood Water utility consumers on conservation, budget, system progress, and capital plans, including adoption of the new water conservation ordinance, hopefully by Wyckoff, Midland Park, and Glen Rock. A new packer truck will be available at the recycling center for cardboard in the second quarter of the year. We would like to establish a composting food waste recycling area at the recycling center. The police department will work on creating community policing teams. We would like to get the e-ticket program running efficiently with the possible shared services with the other municipalities. We will be replacing a fire engine that is 25 years old. The municipal court process has been streamlined, and we have installed a new video system for the municipal court, which goes to all of the jails in the state, which negates the need to transport prisoners to the Ridgewood Municipal Court. That saves on overtime and also the time that it takes just to go to the jail and back. We'll be installing more parking kiosks in the central business district. Permanent part-time employees will be increased, and they will assist in various departments as needed. The creation of the Chevrolet Park and renovation rehabilitation of the Zabriskie Chevrolet House will begin. Improvements to Kings Pond Park, walking paths, small parking lots, and trees planted. Improvements to West Glen Avenue, some sidewalks will be installed. We want to establish credit card usage for all departments. We are updating the design and content of the OEM website. We're going to hire another full-time person to support the water IT system as well as assist generally through programming and coding. We're going to be negotiating the fire contract. We have enhanced participation in the county program for the upgrade of traffic signal and intersections. We'll continue the upgrade of the HVAC and security system at Village Hall. We're going to be resurfacing tennis courts, resurfacing approximately 6 miles of road, enhancing the sound system here in the courtroom, replace public safety vehicles and equipment, update the SCADA system at the water pollution control facility. In water, we want to manage the renovation of the Elks Club for utility operations, procure and complete the PFAS action plan items, including construction of the new car treatment facility. We want to manage the successful completion of utility capital projects with emphasis on asset management plans and priorities and projects that restore system capacity and prepare for future treatment requirements. Again, hiring the IT professional to serve the utilities' growth and needs. And to complete the PVWC water quality study, pipeline design, and secure contract that benefits the ratepayers of the utility. We're going to continue to foster communication to the water utility consumers on conservation, budget, system progress, and capital plans, including adoption of the new water conservation ordinance, again, by Wyckoff, Midland Park, and Glen Rock, and restructure customer service and public relations to improve the front line of the utility, including hopefully launching a new website. The budget process, again, I mentioned, began in October. The emphasis was on operating efficiencies as well as customer service improvements and investment in people, process, and technology. Budget reviews with the Village Council were designed to elevate the dialogue to include strategic as well as daily operations. Operating expenses as well as capital expenses were discussed for the Village, Ridgewood Water Utility, Parking Utility, and Library. Various sessions were held with the Village Council. Department heads made presentations on their 2019 budget requests. The past 2 weeks, we put in about an additional 9 hours of meetings, so I want to thank the Village Council for being able to coordinate their schedules to be able to be here for those presentations and for the extra time that you all put in. Our final session proposed the water, parking, and capital budgets in addition to general water and parking operating budgets. At this point, I'll have Bob Rooney go on with our numbers.
Back one. Thank you, Heather. The 2019 general operating budget includes approximately $32.9 million of contractual obligations. That's made up of police salaries, pension, health insurance, terminal leave, and vacation, and that accounts for approximately 65% of the operating budget. As of 12/31/18, we have approximately $6.7 million of compensated absences. Basically, that is, if everybody left tomorrow, the village would have to pay out $6.7 million in terminal leave and vacation. We currently have 7 confirmed retirements for 2018 and 2019 that we were paying out of our terminal leave trust. And the terminal leave trust fund currently has a balance of $791,000.
Can you forward the slides, Bob?
Oh, sorry. Yep. I'm having trouble multitasking here. Okay. Summary of the budget, our operating capital budgets. Our operating budget is approximately $50.6 million. And did it go back?
You went.
It's not cooperating.
Can we,
Okay?
Yeah, there you are.
Don't move. Our operating budget is approximately $50.6 million, and our general capital budget is $7.2 million. This operating budget will result in a 0.99% municipal tax increase or $48 annual increase on an average home assessed at $702,225. Our estimated outstanding debt at the end of 18 is $39.7 million. At the end of 17, it was $39.8 million. Revenue and expenses are up approximately 1.1% over last year. This slide shows a comparison of the budget being introduced. Our total appropriations between 18 and 19 are up approximately $500,000. Surplus has stayed flat. Our miscellaneous revenues and receipts from delinquent taxes are up approximately $100,000. So in order to balance the budget, the amount to be raised is up approximately $400,000. This will result in a $48 increase, as I said, on the average assessed value home at $4,273 this year compared to $4,225 last year. We've maximized our anticipated revenues. We've optimized the use of funds in surplus. Our miscellaneous revenues are flat to last year. In our revenue stream, there are certain things that we identify as risks. Those would be administrative fees we collect from side jobs, weather effect on grading, recycling, one-time revenues, the use of additional and capital fund surpluses, and state influence on fees, which could impact our municipal court and building fees going forward. The opportunities that we've made is the fund balances continue to grow, and we have new tax ratables. This slide will show a comparison of different line items for what we budgeted in 18, what we realized, the excess and deficits, and the recommended budget for 2019. This slide shows the fluctuation. We had decreases in 19 over 18 budgeted in general capital surplus of $300,000. We had a decrease in trust funds of $265,000 for a total of $565,000. On the plus side, our revenues for building are up 105, flood reserves up 98, local revenue 60, cellular tower revenue 55, sewer plant discharge 71, interest on investments of 221, for a net increase of 46.4. Excuse me. This slide shows a comparison of our fund balances over the last 8 years. Bear with me. Our unaudited surplus balance at the end of 18 is the beginning balance is $4.8 million as of 12/31/18. The surplus that we utilize is the same as we did in 19 is the same as we did for 18. This slide shows a comparison of budget appropriations for within the caps, outside the caps, comparing capital improvement fund, debt service payments, deferred charges, and reserve for uncollected taxes. I'll get there. Where's that IT guy when you need him? Next year I'm going to sit on that side of the table. Here comes the keyboard. Thank you, my friend. All right. So gross debt for the general capital fund outstanding as of 12/31/18, approximately $39.7 million in bonds, loans, and notes, and $13.5 million in authorized on issue. In 19, we'll be paying down $4.3 million, and after tonight's capital ordinances, we'll have general debt of $7.2 million issued for a projected gross debt of 56.1. The proposed ordinance for tonight is comprised of $2 million in street paving, purchase of vehicles 1.8, IT of $529,000, public safety 43.7, engineering 742, library of 90, and other infrastructure and equipment 1.5. Again, just to reiterate, the risks that we're faced in our budget coming up is the negotiation for new fire contracts, defense of any tax appeals that may develop during the year, state influence on fees, police overtime, stabilizing infrastructure, and one-time revenues. Water risk will involve weather conditions, stabilizing infrastructure, and compliance with any EPA water regulations. The water operating budget is down approximately $200,000 from last year. Surplus anticipated is down about $800,000. Water rents $500,000, with the difference being made up in miscellaneous and facility charges and water rent increases, which you'll be voting on tonight. The water utility operating appropriations show a comparison, again, down $200,000. The significant decreases there are $702,000 increase in operating, capital improvement down $600,000, debt service down $32,000, statutory down $283,000. The proposed capital budget for water consists of $395,000 in supply transfer and booster improvements, wells and treatment of $998,000, distribution system improvements of $1,040,000, equipment and vehicles of $343,000, interconnection improvements of $2,080,000 for a total of $4.9 million. Parking utility budget is down approximately $16,500 from last year. The comparison between the two is shown on this slide. Again, the difference being made up of increase in salary and wages for extended parking enforcement by $5,700, other expense which is contractual of $7,800, and debt service of $3,000. The proposed 2019 parking capital budget consists of $75,000 for kiosks and cameras and $60,000 for license plate readers. Thank you.
So that's the budget presentation. I just want to mention that the public hearing and adoption of the budget is on April 10th at our public meeting, which begins at 8 p.m.
Can we get a copy of the?
Yes, can we get a copy of that sent
Yeah.
to us?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
I just want to say, Bob, Heather, and the village staff, again, always appreciate the hard work that goes into the budget process. Council colleagues as well. Friday nights, non-council meeting nights, although we were fed well, I think, in a couple of the meetings, so it was nice. But it's a lot of work, it's a lot of detail, it's going into diving in. We start with the assumption that we have no increase, and from there we hack away. It's a very thoughtful process, and I really just appreciate the hard work that goes into it by everybody, and I'm very proud of the budget that we're going to be presenting. So, all right.
Yes.
I move the first reading of ordinance. Sorry.
I just wanted to second your sentiments. Thank you very much for what you guys did. I know you spent a lot of time on this, and it looks good. So thank you.
You know, and I have to agree, and I know Heather thanked all the departments, and she thanked the council members, and I think we all owe a thank you to Heather, because you're forever organizing, meeting with everybody. It's a daunting task, and you pull it off it's the easiest thing. So kudos to you. And I just have to say, the list of accomplishments is, I was actually feeling a little down the past couple of weeks thinking that we didn't accomplish much or we didn't accomplish enough. And now I realize I was probably just tired from accomplishing so much. So, yeah, so thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
And speaking of Heather, what was the, what you mentioned in terms of the timing and how long is this the?
We'll introduce our budget. We're about a month ahead of schedule as to where we usually are. We're usually introducing in April and adopting in May. And in the time I've been here, I don't think that, maybe once or twice we introduced in March, and it was in the latter part of March. So I appreciate the council, as I said, getting together, being willing to move this forward. And so we are going to be, as I said, about a month ahead of schedule. This will help us with having to, all the capital purchases and projects we want to do, we can start them a month earlier. So it's really, and I thank the department directors for all of their work in reducing their budgets. And as I said, about a week ago, we had to reduce $1 million, and thank them for everything that they did to contribute towards that $1 million final cut. So.
Thank you. With that, I move the first reading of ordinance 3708.
Second.
Newton.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes, so ordered. Would the clerk please read ordinance 3708 by title?
An ordinance to exceed, calendar year 2019, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank, NJSA 48:4-45.14.
I move that ordinance 3708 be adopted on first reading and that April 10th, 2019 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Newton. Yes. Seaton.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes.
The following resolutions, these all have to do with budget, numbered 19-65 through 19-67, will be adopted by a consent agenda with one vote by the village council. They will be read by title only. Approved temporary water utility capital budget. Approved temporary general capital budget. Approved temporary parking utility capital budget. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Newton. Yes. Seaton.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes.
The following resolution, 19-68, will be considered separately and read in full. Hold on one second. I just got to find it. Where is my 68? Thank you. Thank you, sir. Municipal budget notice of the Village of Ridgewood, County of Bergen for fiscal year 2019. Be resolved that the following statements or revenues and appropriations shall constitute the municipal budget for the year 2019. And be it further resolved that said budget be published in the Ridgewood News in the issue of March 29, 2019, with a public hearing to be held on April 10, 2019. And be it finally resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby approve the following as the budget for the year 2019. General appropriations for appropriations within the caps, $40,293,401. Appropriations excluded from caps, $9,079,349. Reserve for uncollected taxes, $1,230,000. Total general appropriations, $50,602,750. Less anticipated revenues other than current property tax, $15,175,593. For the difference, amounts to be raised by taxes for supportive budget, $35,427,157. Public notice, Village of Ridgewood. Notice is hereby given that the budget and tax resolution was approved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood, County of Bergen on March 13, 2019. A hearing on the budget and tax resolution will be held at Village Hall, 131 North Maple Avenue, Ridgewood, New Jersey, on April 10, 2019 at 8 p.m., at which time and place objections to said budget and tax resolution for the year 2019 may be presented by taxpayers or other interested persons. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Newton.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes. I move the first reading of ordinance 3709.
Second.
Newton.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes, so ordered. Would the clerk please read ordinance 3709 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 269 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood Water at Section 269-36.1, Water Service Connections.
I move that ordinance 3709 be adopted on first reading and that April 10th, 2019 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Newton,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Voigt,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
and Hache.
Yes. I move the first reading of ordinance 3710.
Second.
Newton,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Voigt,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
and Hache.
Yes. So ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 3710 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 145 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood fees at Section 145-6, enumeration of fees relating to code chapters.
I move that ordinance 3710 be adopted on first reading on April 10th, 2019 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Newton,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Voigt,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
and Hache.
Yes. I move the first reading of ordinance 3711.
Second.
Newton,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Voigt,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
and Hache.
Yes. So ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 3711 by title?
A bond ordinance providing for various water utility improvements in and by the Village of Ridgewood in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, appropriating $4,856,800 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $4,856,800 bonds or notes of the village to finance the costs thereof.
I move that ordinance 3711 be adopted on first reading and that April 10th, 2019 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Newton,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Voigt,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
and Hache.
Yes.
There is no public hearing on ordinances for Ridgewood Water, so we move on to resolutions for Ridgewood Water. The following resolutions, numbered 19-69 through 19-74, will be adopted by a consent agenda with one vote by the Village Council. They will be read by title only. Award sole source contract, corrosion control inhibitor. Award contract under National Joint Powers Alliance Program and rescind resolution number 19-43, purchase of backhoe loader. Authorized change order, SCADA system software. Authorized change order, professional services for Ames tank rehabilitation. Authorized change order, professional services for Southside Reservoir improvements. Authorized change order and rescind resolution number 19-46, distribution improvements and Lakeview extension. May I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Newton.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes. I move the first reading of ordinance 3712.
Second.
Hold on a second. Newton.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes. So ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 3712 by title?
A bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the Village of Ridgewood in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, appropriating $5,690,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $5,418,000 bonds or notes of the village to finance part of the cost thereof.
I move that ordinance 3712 be adopted on first reading April 10th, 2019 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Newton.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes. I move the first reading of ordinance 3713.
Second.
Newton.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes. So ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 3713 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 265 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, Vehicles and Traffic at Section 265-33, Permit Parking.
I move that ordinance 3713 be adopted on first reading on April 10th, 2019 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Newton.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes. I move the first reading of ordinance 3714.
Second.
Newton.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes. So ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 3714 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 244 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood entitled Smoking at Article 4 entitled Tobacco Shops, Cannabis Shops, and Electronic Vapor Substance Inhalation Shops.
I move that ordinance 3714 be adopted on first reading and that April 10th, 2019 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Newton.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes. I move the first reading of ordinance 3715.
Second.
Newton.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes. So ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 3715 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 186 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, landscapers and landscaping services, at Section 186-3, permit required, and Section 186-4, permit fee, and Section 186-5, term of permit, and Section 186-7, application procedure and required information.
I move that ordinance 3715 be adopted on first reading and that April 10th, 2019 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Newton. Yes. Seaton.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes, I move the first reading of ordinance 3716.
Second.
Newton. Yes. Seaton.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes, so ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 3716 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 145 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood fees at Section 145-6, enumeration of fees relating to code chapters.
I move that ordinance 3716 be adopted on first reading and that April 10th, 2019 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Newton. Yes. Seaton.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes, I move the first reading of ordinance 3717.
Second.
Newton. Yes. Seaton.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes, so ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 3717 by title?
An ordinance to amend Article 8 of Chapter 156 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, food and food handling establishments, at Section 156-69, location, and Section 156-70, application for license, and Section 156-85, seasonal operation, duration of license.
I move that ordinance 3717 be adopted on first reading and that April 10th, 2019 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Newton.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
White.
No.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes, I move the first reading of ordinance 3718.
Second.
Newton.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes, so ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 3718 by title?
A bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of equipment for the parking utility in and by the Village of Ridgewood in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, appropriating $142,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $142,000 bonds or notes of the village to finance the cost thereof.
I move that ordinance 3718 be adopted on first reading and that April 10th, 2019 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Newton.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes, I move the clerk read ordinance 3705 by title on second reading, that the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Newton.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes, will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3705?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 145 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood fees at Section 145-6, enumeration of fees relating to code chapters.
The public hearing is now open. I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Newton. Yes. Seaton.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes,
I move that ordinance 3705 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Newton.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
yes, I move the clerk read ordinance 3706 by title on second reading, that the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Newton.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes, would the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3706?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 133 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, dumpsters.
The public hearing is now open. Good evening.
Good evening. Boyd Loving, 342 South Irving Street. Some questions about this ordinance. Just took a quick look at it in the yellow book over there, and I see that there's some provisions with respect to construction, that the dumpster must not be placed prior to a certain time before construction. My concern is that some people have these and there's no construction going on. People get them and place them on their property to clean out their house. There's no construction taking place. So is the way this ordinance written now an indication that the only reason that you could get one, the only legal reason to have one on your property, is if there is construction taking place? That's question number one.
I think this is a public hearing. You want the answers at this point?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't believe that. I think the way it's written, you can have it for such use that you're talking about.
But if it's construction, it has to be done. Okay. Okay.
With respect to the definition of property lines, it says that if it's not in the driveway, it has to be 10 feet away from the property line. Does that include the street?
There's a separate ordinance for...
No, I'm not saying if
street.
it's in the street. I'm saying if somebody has it in the front of their property, is the front property line included, or are we just talking about the side property lines in the back of the house?
Right.
Well, I think there's a regulation that deals with placing them in the front yard. And
I know the pods are not supposed to be placed anywhere but the driveway or...
right.
But I guess my concern is that some people put these things at the end of their driveway, and it's like 2 feet from the sidewalk, 3 feet from the sidewalk. Is that legal, or is it supposed to be 10
I would
feet
think the
away?
property line has to do with the front property line as well.
So all the property lines are included?
That would be my interpretation, because unless they specifically take that out or identify that as being not applicable to front property lines, the way it's written, it's applicable to all property lines, which would include the front.
Okay. And I guess my last question is, I did not happen to know, when does this go into effect? Immediately, or it's 30 days?
Regular time period.
Yeah, it's always 20 days after adoption, so
20 days
20
after
days from
adoption.
today.
So 20 days after adoption, if that is tonight, is Mr. Yatka's staff going to be instructed to try to find these and make sure that people have paid the fee? Or is, if you have one on your property now, are you exempt? What's going to happen with those that are in place all over the village? Is somebody going to go out and say you need a permit now? Or are people who had these going to be exempt because there was no permit requirement at the time they got them?
Certainly can discuss with the building department which way they want to go. There's nothing to preclude this from taking effect on even the ones that are out there right now.
So there are going to be no
Give them
exemptions?
a chance to get the permit for it. It's not like we would go out and summons them. We would give them a chance to come in and get the permit.
Right, I just wanted to make sure that there's going to be no exemption. That is, somebody might have one in place now and not have, there's no permit required now. Now all of a sudden you're saying there's a permit required. Is somebody going to go out and make sure that all these that are out there, and I'm sure that there are dozens of them in the village
Once it
right
becomes
now.
effective, yes.
Okay, so there's going to be instructions that you're going to go out, you're going to find them, and you're going to tag them and make sure you get...
And tell them that they need to come and get a permit because now that's effective. That new ordinance is effective, correct.
Okay, has that been done with the pods, which is now in effect?
I don't know the answer to that. Yes, it has. I'm getting a yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Second? Okay. Newton? Yes. Seaton?
Yes.
Voight?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Hache?
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3706 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Newton? Yes. Seaton?
Yes.
Voight?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Hache?
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 3707 by title on second reading, that the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Newton? Yes. Seaton?
Yes.
Voight?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Hache?
Yes. Would the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3707?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 145 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood fees at Section 145-6, enumeration of fees relating to code chapters.
The public hearing is now open. I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Newton? Yes. Seaton?
Yes.
Voight?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Hache?
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3707 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Newton?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
Voight?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Hache?
Yes.
The following resolutions, numbered 19-75 through 19-101, are to be adopted by a consent agenda with one vote by the village council. They will be read by title only. Endorse submission of recycling tonnage grant. Title 59 approval, resurfacing and repair of various village streets. Award partial contract, resurfacing and repair of various village streets. Title 59 approval, cured in place pipelining services, Dundas Pump Station, and Graydon Park Storm Sewer Line. Award contract, cured in place pipelining services, Dundas Pump Station, and Graydon Park Storm Sewer Line. Title 59 approval, concession refreshment services, Graydon Pool. Award contract, concession refreshment services, Graydon Pool. Title 59 approval, maintenance of irrigation systems, water fountains. Award contract, maintenance of irrigation systems, water fountains. Title 59 approval, installation, service and repair, police, fire, and emergency services vehicles and radios. Award contract, installation, service and repair, police, fire, and emergency services vehicles and radios. Title 59 approval, senior bus. Award contract, senior bus. Title 59 approval, leasing and maintenance of police vehicles. Award contract, leasing and maintenance of police vehicles. Award contract under state contract, various computer equipment for Ridgewood Water and IT Department. Award professional services contract, upgrade and maintain SCADA system, water pollution control facility. Authorized change order, Village Hall HVAC system. Award emergency contract, repairs to Demorest Pump Station. Award emergency contract, repairs to Andover Pump Station. Reject bid, furnishing and delivering containerized yard waste collection and disposal services. Authorized preparation, execution, and filing of treatment works approval, TWA 275 North Murray Avenue. Approved berm designs, patio and parking lot design for Shedler Park property. Accept donation, batting cages of Veterans Field. Approve Eagle Scout project, stone chest table for all veterans on James Tenhove Plaza. Appoint member to Parks, Recreation, and Conservation Board, and accept donation, restoration of stone wall at Citizens Park. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Newton.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Hache.
Yes. Back to public comments, not to exceed 5 minutes per person. Good evening again, Boyd Loving, 342 South Irving Street. This must be the third or fourth time I've had to come up and mention that the PowerPoints that are shown when you are sitting in the audience, they are eye tests. The font size has to be larger. I don't think that a PowerPoint should be shown in this room unless somebody brings it into the room first, has a volunteer sit in the audience. We were sitting in the front row, and I couldn't read those. The fonts are too small. You all can see them because you've got a screen right in front of you, but the audience, it is difficult to see them. You've got to increase the font size. And I think Dylan's in the back. He probably can hear me say this. He should check those all out. There should be a standardized font size for anything that's shown in this room. It's embarrassing. The public has paid a fortune for this system, and we can't read what's on the screen. Can you fix it? Please.
I think we should come up with a plan that's a font size that we then tell everybody is the font size that should be used in all PowerPoints. It seems like a pretty simple resolution.
Thank you.
From the visually challenged, so.
The other thing I'd like to comment on is Councilwoman Walsh's comment about the Hudson Street parking lot. That is something that I have observed as well. In fact, my wife and I were walking our dog by there today, and I noted that 70 to 80% of the spaces in that lot are empty. We walked by at 10:30 in the morning, they're empty, and there's signage up, and it says that you need a special permit to park there. And as the manager indicated tonight, those permits did not sell out, and that's why the lot is vacant. I'm stunned that there is no immediate action to correct that. We are building a parking garage that's going to be between $8 and $12 million. We have said that parking is scarce in the village, yet we let that lot sit for the past 2.5 months with 70 to 80% of the lot vacant. There is no reason for that at all. There should be some immediate action to correct that. Immediate. Not, well, we need to introduce an ordinance and change it. Yes, that might be the legal thing that we have to do, but there is something that could be done immediately so people are not driving around in circles looking for a place to park, and 70 to 80% of the lot is vacant, and you know it's not going to fill up because the permits haven't sold. I don't understand that. You're 5 very intelligent people. Figure out a way to fix that right away. It's a no-brainer. Do something right away so that people can use that lot. It's sitting vacant, no revenue coming in. I don't understand why you would do that. If this was a business, somebody would be fired for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ann Loving, 342 South Irving Street.
Good evening.
I wanted to thank you for the budget, which looks like it's going to be 0.99%. That's fantastic. I really appreciate that. I also couldn't really read the screen, but I wanted to just ask or just put in a word that I do hope that the remediation of the tree wells in the CBD is included. Because spring is coming and things are going to start sprouting again. And I know Councilman Seaton has worked so hard on the trees in town, and I hope that that plan to remediate those wells is part of the budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to ask Matt a question. Matt, I just want to ask a question. So to Boyd's concern, if we know X number of passes, permits were sold, and we have a difference of spaces that would remain empty, is there anything that the village manager is authorized to do immediately, i.e. remove signs or do anything so that those spaces can then be utilized by, regular parking, for regular
You
parking?
mean, can an executive decision just be made to do it differently?
Just as a more immediate, yes, attention to that. Can
You
that...
can certainly bring attention to it, but you still have to go through the process of addressing it by ordinance.
Right.
So we can suspend the ordinance?
Well, you've got permits that are out there. I suppose you'd have to make some contact with people that got the permits, work it through, the mechanism of communicating what you want to try and get done with it. So.
Well, I'm saying that if we had 55 permits for the lot,
Right.
and we sold 10, then we don't have to communicate with 10 people. We have to free up 40 spaces. We can leave a buffer, but we could certainly free up 30, 40 spaces that are just sitting there every day empty, because I think a whole bunch of people, including everyone up here, we're all making the exact same observation that the parking lot is empty. So the question is the village manager, is she authorized to say, you know what, we're going to just take these signs, and can she do that?
No, because the designated 55 spaces, I think, were done by ordinance, correct?
Correct.
So you can't just circumvent the ordinance. It has to be brought back, and even if there is a suspension of the enforcement of the permit for the other 35, you still have to do it at least by a resolution by the council.
A resolution, so we would have to adopt a resolution that states that for those 35 spaces, we're suspending the ordinance and allowing...
Until you decide what to do with it. But
Right, and then be able to mark whatever spaces have been sold, kind of like we did with the CBD employee ones, kind of mark those spots specifically so they can park there.
more than likely, to make it effective and to make it practical, you'd have to identify which ones are still being able to be used by the permitted persons, and then the other ones can be used elsewhere or otherwise. But
Right, okay, so it can be done.
Right,
you
but
can
now
deal
we're
with it,
2
but
weeks
you-
out from that. We're 2 weeks out from our next meeting, right? So, because our next meeting is 2 weeks from now. So,
Right.
all right, so maybe that's something, if we want to put that together and maybe have a discussion and then maybe have a special public meeting so we can get that done sooner rather than later? I'm just throwing that out there, Heather, I know you're...
If I can get 3 of you to get them to a meeting, yeah, we could do that.
No, I'm not saying to do a special, I'm saying that on our next...
During the work session, yes.
I mean,
we could
look,
do
I
a
don't mind
special
if it's
public
important,
meeting.
I don't mind coming in for a special...
But yeah, maybe we can just, I'm going to be around.
I'm going to be around. I don't mind coming in if that's what it takes. I mean, I don't disagree. I think we've all made the same observation, and I think that it's lost revenue.
Yeah, I guess we'll check everybody's schedule and see if we can do that before.
I can do that.
But I do recommend that you decide to
Introduce an ordinance at the same time.
take action to introduce the ordinance to correct the situation as well.
So I think maybe it would be helpful, Heather, if we had maybe an email that gave us, or something that indicated the number of
I'll
those
let you know.
permits that were sold and what's outstanding, and this way we could address it and,
Sure.
with the right information. Okay, good.
Sounds good, thank you. And then there's another question about the tree wells. We still have money left over, about $40,000 from last year's budget that we would have to deploy, and the plan is to begin a sort of a plan of attack, basically picking a side of Ridgewood Avenue to kind of start the work. And I believe the first priority in the work would be to eliminate the brick bans, which are a trip hazard and are really creating most of the problems with regard to the lack of retention of water from the tree wells. Mike?
Yep.
Did I properly characterize, did I show my greenness?
Very good. And then engineering, I think, is going to work on a bid to go out and see what it would cost to do one side of the street, so we could kind of like have a demonstration and say this is what it's going to look like. And I think there will be several options to it that, you might include irrigation or various things like that. So, we'll be able to pick and choose sort of a la carte once it comes through, and then we'll have a better idea of, what one section costs, and then you can kind of extrapolate out and see what, the whole project would be, because obviously we couldn't do it all at once in 1 year, so it'd have to be, brought out over several years, but we're definitely starting that process, and there's money from last year's budget available.
Good. Anybody else? All right, thank you very much.
Is that a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thanks.
Something to think about.